Hello, in this video, I'm going to show you how to download and install Visual Studio 2019. So the first thing you want to do is when you're in this course, in your D2L homepage, you want to go to Content and you want to go to Course Information from the left-hand side. You want to go down to Technology Expectations, click on that, and you want to go down and find this link under Technology Tools that says Download Visual Studio Express 2019. It will take you to this page. What you want to do is you want to click on this link, and that will ask you to download and save the file, which I already have. So if you look at it, there's the executable. You double click on that. And what that does is that opens it up and brings you to a window that gives you several options. It asks you a couple of questions. You go through that. It asks you, okay, what do you want to install? And what you want to install is these two, or these two options. You want to make sure you say desktop development with C++ and the desktop development, these two. Or if you only have one of these, you need to pick this one. Okay, none of the other stuff. We don't care for the other stuff. So you want desktop development with C++. Pick those, or if you have only one of those, pick this and install it. Now mine is a little different because I've already installed it and it's an update screen. Okay, so it looks a little different. So I'm going to essentially close mine that says I want to say launch because I have it available. Once you have it installed, you want to double click on it and it should open up Visual Studio that hopefully when it comes up will look like this. Looks like this. Okay, so it says what do you want to do. So we want to, if you want to create a new project, when you start up you won't have any of these things. Okay, you're going to say create a new project. I'm going to click on that, and when it comes up it will automatically put it in a folder under your documents folder with Visual Studio project. Now I'll show you where all that is. We want to create an empty console app. So we can say console app C++. I'm going to try that and say next. And console application, I will call it hello world because that's what I want it to be. And notice where it's putting it under your username source repos. That's the default folder where all of your projects go. So you create it and it creates a folder, and we will quickly go over the folder structure, the file structure and things like that. And here we go. This is what it comes up with as a console application. Okay, so it tells you, it gives you a CPP file. We can start with the CPP file and with the same name as the project name. So you don't even have to create the CPP file. We can get started right here. Okay, and it gives you some information on how to get started as to what you want to do. Control F5, start without debugging, tips to get started, and things like that. You start with comments. It has main, which is always the entry point for a C++ program. We need to include the header file, and the std : is if you don't want to use the namespace, or you can use the namespace, whatever works, right? So here's the code all written. Now, if we want to run this, it's already saved. I can add a couple of lines. Let's say I add another line. Welcome to CS161, and here's yet another way to put a new line. And I would like to always have a return 0. So it looks like that. And we'll see if that error eventually goes away. Okay, so you go to, now let's compile this. You go to build and you build solution. That's one way to do it. Or you can do Control Shift B if you are used to your, let's see here. Let's put our namespace up here. Maybe make all my errors go away. Then I don't need this std : or you have to do std : for each one of them. So I did Control Shift B, which also is a shortcut for building. So hold your Control Shift key down and B for Bravo. We'll build it, or B for build. We'll build it. And so at the bottom, if you notice, there's a console window or it's an output window that tells you whether it succeeded or failed. So the last time we got an error that said something about end line not being defined. And so since it was part of the namespace, or you had to come here and do this std colon colon. That's one way to do it. Or this is the other way to do it. Okay, so build or Control Shift B will build it. Then we run it, which is what this says. You can do Control F5 to run it. So Control F5 will run it, or you can go up here and say debug, start without debugging. That shows you the output window. And there we go, we have a printout. This is a console application, and this is what we will be doing throughout this term. Okay, now a couple of things. You hit enter, the window closes. Make sure you always close that window before you go on to do other things. Now, if you right click where it gives you the file name, there is something that says open containing folder. You open and there is your file. This is what you will need to upload when you're trying to submit things to D2L. And this up here gives you the full path. So what it does is it creates a project. So repos is your root folder where all your projects are. And I have quite a few of them here. Hello World is the one that we just created. So in here, it has its solution files, which is the project file. We don't worry about those things. Go into Hello World again. There's the CPP file that we care about. And that's just a text file, as you can see. So if you right click and say edit, it will open it in WordPad or Notepad, and it's a plain text file. That's what you should be submitting to me. And that's where it is located. Okay. And so that's a quick starting point for Visual Studio. Now, if you close this, oops, how do you restart it? Next time you restart it, you can go down here to your search bar, type in Visual Studio, brings it up, open it up, and it will come up with that list of folders and files. So here's what we created. You can click on that, or you can create a new project, and you can start the process all over again to create a new project. And what I recommend is as you go through each chapter or week material, you organize them in such a way that you can create your folder and you can have multiple files. Okay. For example, if I want to have another file in here, I can right click on source, add new item, and I will give this it's a C++ file. So click on that, and at the bottom, give it a name, and we'll call it hello, or let's call it something else, intro. Maybe it's still part of this intro VS. It's still part of this module. I add it, and it creates it. Okay. Now I can create, maybe this is doing something else. So I quickly create a file that's going to maybe output something else. Okay, int main. Okay, see out. This is the second sample for this folder for this week, or whatever, if it's all going to go onto that week, right? Okay, then we finish this program. So it's just another cout statement. Now, if you try to build it, you have two files. Both of them have mains in them, and they are both part of the project, okay? So one project can have only one main. It's not going to let you have two programs with main in that folder and both being active. That's the key. The other thing to notice here is notice in intro VS, I have an asterisk. That means the file is not saved. So you want to click save, which will save it. But if I try to now build it, it's going to tell me, it's going to give me an error message that says main already defined. Notice at the bottom, it says main already defined, one or more multiply defined symbols. That means I have two mains. That's what it's saying. So I want to still have both of them in the folder, but I don't want both of them active. So you right click on hello world.cpp, you say exclude from project, which means it is still there down in the folder if you look at it. So I have both the CPP files, but I'm not going to have both of them active at the same time. So now I only have intro BS. I can Control Shift B, I can build it, and then I can run it by doing F5, Control F5, and it prints that because it is just running this and it runs this program. Okay, so if you want to keep them organized, you can create multiple chapters or weeks and have all the files for that week in there. Just decide which one you want to exclude and which one you want to include. So now if I'm done with this, I can exclude this. I go back and say add existing item, and I pick the other one and I get that and maybe work on that. Okay, so this is how you kind of go back and forth between multiple files in Visual Studio. That is an intro to getting started with Visual Studio.